We celebrate Pride with parades and parties, but it is still protest. Stonewall was a riot started by drag queens and trans women of color.
The Stonewall uprising was just, people just got too tired of the oppression and the physical violence against them, and they just had had enough.
Very little meaningful change has happened without making people uncomfortable.
We come to a point where we just have to stare our history in the eyes and start to address it, really, start to move things forward.
It's pretty impossible to not see the parallels between the Pride movement and the Black Lives Matter movement. We're looking at two specific marginalized groups that still in 2020 are fighting for equality and fighting for our lives.
Those groups that are marching have to become diverse enough for society to look at them and say, this is representative of a broad enough spectrum of society that if I maybe don't feel that way, then maybe I should re-examine my views.
I think in the moments like this, the volume and the number of voices will make a bigger impact. Whilst you have the ear of the words, I think people would listen and take notice and hopefully change their mindset and drive the change around the world.
Showing up in large groups of loud, powerful, opinionated people all working for the same cause, I think that not only feels powerful for the folks that have started the movement, but it also helps encourage others on the sidelines who maybe needed a little bit of a push.
Essentially, the main message is that we're all human beings and we should all be treated equally. It doesn't really matter what your background is. We should all be striving to sort of understand everyone.
We think quite hard as a leadership team to be, what might different people in the organisation be concerned about? What can we do to make them feel more confident in this environment? What can we do to make sure they're still here and happy and involved in the business in 5-10 years' time?
Coming out as Arius and then again coming out as non-binary, it was a very stressful process. I think having an ally in the workplace can make all the difference in the world, really.
I'm really grateful for the fact that on our internal systems, you can now be MX instead of like Mr. or Miss. And that felt really affirming to me because that's the title that I like to use. And it always makes me so happy when I see that.
So I think when you start a new job, one of the first things you want to be able to do is get to know the people you work with and get to know your colleagues. These are people that you spend huge amounts of time interacting with, and it becomes increasingly difficult to bond with your colleagues if you don't feel that you can be your authentic self.
Society is moving in the right direction, and it makes it that much harder for governments and courts to take things away, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
I'm certainly optimistic of the progression of how things have gone. I don't want to rest on that optimism.
Seeing colleagues at Milliman be out as non-binary has really helped me feel confident, and it gave me the confidence I needed to come out in my own office. And if I can make anyone feel a fraction of that, I think that I will have served my purpose.
I mean, it's crazy to think that only sort of 6 years ago, kind of gay marriage kind of passed here in the UK. I took advantage myself.
It's incredible to see how much change can occur when you have people coming out and pushing for change and starting employee resource groups and employee network groups.
Between education, more open dialogues, and just kind of, the interconnectedness of the country, of the world, I think really is going to help move things forward.
Existing as a member of any kind of marginalized group, to constantly keep an eye on your own rights, your own safety, your own security, that's already a lot. But in addition, I think it's also important to be very watchful of all of the other marginalized groups as well.